Peter, just to follow up to the previous question, you said that the departure of players was a management issue. I get that, but you had two senior people in your football department leave in these last 3 weeks. Can you just clarify how big a factor was that in the board making the decision it made today?
Look, to the extent that it's an indication of the sort of issues we dealt with this morning in the board meeting, that it's relevant. But I wouldn't overplay it. I mean, this is a process. If you go back, when did the review, in inverted commas, sort of finalised? Because remember, this review was much more run in the media than it was really run within the club. This was part of an overall review. But I understand the focus of the media on it. I fully accept that. But nonetheless, it was a bigger process to us. So this need to draw it to a conclusion, have an end date, wasn't really a club-imposed one. What we did as a board is we asked for a football review as part of a club review to see where we're at. It's been a much wider process than that. So this has been going on for a while. What happened today or a couple of days ago, it's just that we looked at what we needed going forward. We looked at where we're at and we decided a different approach.
I guess so. The reason I keep harping on this is, as Sammy said 3 weeks ago, Andrew Thompson basically said we've got the structure that we need.
Yeah, well, and the structure isn't changing.
Yeah, but the coach has gone.
Yeah, and we acknowledge that. It's a significant decision that's come about, absolutely.
Had Scott's relationship with Chris Palkin become untenable?
No. I don't believe that. I mean, I do not believe it was that situation. But that has been sort of again portrayed as one versus the other. That's not the case.
How would you describe their relationship in the end?
Look, I don't think it's worth going over. I think they've worked together for the last period quite well. When I've spoken to Scott and Chris about that, there haven't been issues. But again, I'd just like to emphasise, it's been a media story more than it's been a St Kilda story. We've been looking at the football department, we've been looking at our own operations, been looking at that. There's been a focus in the media of two personalities, and I honestly think you've overplayed it.
Michael, you've been here obviously longer than Peter. Have you had doubts about Scott for some time, or has that only come after the review?
Oh, look, Scott's came into the club when there was a transition going on with the list. There's no doubt about that, and that's always a complicated position for a coach. And Scott managed that well. And but I think, as Peter's pointed out, the club got to a position where it just felt that, in terms of the next period for the club, that there was a different approach that needed to be taken, and they felt that was better making that decision now than holding on to that decision. And I think they've made obviously a strong decision. For the club, it's the right decision. Peter is completely and totally club focused. He has a lot of experience in these matters, and we think that the decision that was made today is the right decision for the St Kilda Football Club, and that's St Kilda Football Club.
Sorry, I don't want to labour the point, but you're saying there was no issue between Chris and Scott?
No, it's been reported there was tension in the football department. We accept that. But I've also said that I've operated a long time in business. Tension isn't a bad thing necessarily. It's healthy tension. And it probably got the wrong side. But I don't want to harp on it again. I think it's irrelevant going forward. Well, it's certainly irrelevant going forward. And from what I hear, in particular, the working relationship of late has been okay.
Scott spoke on radio this morning of a positive future and pretty excited about the draft. I mean, was he completely blindsided by this?
I really don't want to get into what Scott was thinking or what he felt, but I'm just not sure that's any purpose in that. I can only talk about. I think the emphasis was that we met this morning at 8 o'clock and we made a decision. I was unaware of the radio. In fact, other than rough references to it, I haven't heard what was in there.
Has he been betrayed at all? Has he been given assurances that perhaps haven't eventuated the other?
No.
Given where you're at, where you've come from in the last couple of years, you just talked about the importance of getting this one right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. But I would have thought every club at every point in time has exactly the same criteria. I mean, we have aspirations to be a very, very strong football club. You cannot be a strong football club without making a lot of correct decisions. This is one of them, and we will go through that process. If I go through the decisions we've taken of late and they've been considered, we've got a very strong board. The processes that I've seen that have been gone through to make those decisions have been the right ones, and we will do that again in the selection of the new coach.
How quickly, Peter, do do you think those aspirations can be achieved?
I have alluded to our vision statement 2017. That document, one of the hold-ups of that has been the players aren't back from their break yet, and we have felt that it's important to at least run that through that statement with them to make sure we get a whole club buy-in. So that'll be coming out soon. That document will really go through our goals and the periods in which we think we can achieve them.
Like this morning, when Scott Waters went on the radio, it appears he didn't have club permission to do so. We're surprised, and it does sound like that did have something to do, or was brought up at least at the meeting today. Was that a point of tension at all?
Not for me to go through that level of detail, but Peter's already referred to the board meeting that occurred and the timing of that board meeting when that decision was made, and I think that predates that press that Scott did this morning. So I think that puts it in context.
Was Scott is it your impression that Scott was defying you with going on radio this morning? Was daring you trying to make some sort of play to the club?
That wasn't my takeout, no.
Scott lasted 2 years, and given your list management now, the next coach is probably going to need to be given a lot of time to develop the list. How do we know that there's going to be more patience with a future coach?
Well, I think certainly with the right coach, and we'll do everything we can to ensure that we have the right coach. And this club's had a history of stability with coaches. I mean, Ross Lyon was here for 5 years, and Grant Thomas before that for a long period of time. So, this was, as Peter said, a very considered decision by an extremely experienced board. The coach will be given the appropriate time to get to where we need to get to. We're incredibly excited about the trade period that we've just come through. We think there was we benefited enormously from the experience and the expertise we have in our list management group. Andrew Thompson, obviously, with his experience, had a vital role to play, as did Chris Pelkin and Meet Baines. Tony Elshaw's growth in his position at this football club as our head recruiting guy has been quite outstanding, and I think we saw the benefits last year of some of the younger players coming through into the structure. Are they going to be great? Let's hope so. There's certainly a number in there that are good. Let's hope they're better than good. So we are in that period where we're starting to get a lot of sight on the talent. We think we're starting to assemble some more talent. We have some fantastic historic leaders in the club. I mean, Nick Rewalt and Lenny Hayes and Lee Montagna are outstanding people, outstanding for this football club. They've bought right into the transition, so they're engaged by it as well. So in many respects, it's an exciting time for this football club. I look at the Wellington Anzac Day opportunity. I've just come back from New Zealand, and there's a level of excitement there about this. We're with Summit Sport that's broadcasting over there. They're unbelievably enthusiastic about the broadcast numbers they're getting across there in New Zealand. We look at the Indigenous role we're playing in the Indigenous round with Nicky Winmar. That's work that's been going on now for 18 months at this football club. We think that's significant for this football club. We think it's significant for the history and the role that Nick's played in this club. So there's a lot of good things going on. We look at, we've announced that we're going to be playing a standalone VFL team back at Moorabbin at some time. We expect that to be 2016. We're redeveloping the Sandringham Football Oval at the moment with the AFL and the Bayside Council. There's $1 million plus going into the redevelopment of that ground, extending it, widening it so that we can enhance our talent pathway. So there's a lot of actually fantastic things going on at this football club at the moment in a development context. We think we're putting the fundamental platform in place to actually take this club on and be incredibly successful. It's been that steerage is by Chris Pelkin on the list management side and the meet. That's looking incredibly prospective. So we're very enthusiastic about the future prospect of this football club as we sit here right now.
In the shorter term, when do the players get back?
I think we've got a few back next week, and the younger
Wednesday.
guys, and then there's a structured process. They come back, yeah.
Who runs it?
We've got a deep and competent coaching group that's still here. Adam Kingsley, Danny Sexton, Paul Hudson, Simon McPhee's an outstanding coach. All those guys are still here. So, it's business as usual for this football club at the moment. This club's not just built around one person. This club's built around the St Kilda Football Club. 141 years of history, some fantastically exciting projects. We've got a great board. Peter's a great chairman. He's going to be a fantastic president of this football club. There's lots of very exciting things for our members to be excited about this football club.
You
Last question, guys.
mentioned Nick Rewalt. Did he have a say in this at all?
Look, I wouldn't like to talk about specifics and people involved in this. I don't think that's fair to Nick. Nick's a great champion of this football club, and I'd rather Nick Grewald let his record stand for what Nick Grewald is, which is without peer in this football club.
Was he consulted?
Look, as I said, I'd prefer not to talk about who was consulted, who wasn't consulted. I think Peter's already talked to that. But Nick Grewald, Lenny Hayes, Lee Montagna, these guys are great champions of this football club. Incredibly experienced players in the business of football. They're proud of this place. We're proud of the way they go about their business, and I think we'd just leave it at that, to be quite honest.
Might wrap it up there, guys. Thanks for coming down. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Cheers.